Friends, folks, we have spent the entire year reflecting on 25 years of walking with leaders and experiencing the power of community. It all culminates tonight. We have justifiably recognized Arlen and the spark he ignited all those years ago, much to the discomfort and violation of his own farm boy sensibilities. As we culminate this year, it is my desire to do two things: recognize the community and recognize the Sorensen family. Both have personally enriched my life, and I think Arlen will be much more comfortable with that focus. This community never ceases to amaze me. I've witnessed a level of investment, support, and friendship that many people on this planet simply do not have. The sharing of life and the accountability in every aspect of life is inspiring. Thank you all for being on this journey with us as we transform the world a person at a time. We have every intention of continuing the mission of creating experiences that ignite partner success. As for the Sorensens, you have always been all in. You have personally poured into my life, my family, and this community and this mission. Nancy, Pete, Lori, I could not be more grateful for your alignment to our cause and the tireless ways which you've contributed and supported Arlen in this journey. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. There's a long line of folks who want to acknowledge the moment, so I'll keep it moving, but cheers. And now I welcome to the stage Scott Scroggin.
All right, welcome everybody. Appreciate you all being here. My name is Scott Scroggin. I serve as the Strategic Initiatives Director at ConnectWise, and I'm the former president of HTG Peer Groups. I met Arlen roughly 25 years ago when I was working for a VAR in Kansas, and Arlen and I were in a distributor peer group. After a short stint at ConnectWise, my first time, Arlen called me and said, hey, would you like to get going with HTG? I became the first employee. Now, some of you may not know, but in the early days of the HTG peer groups, the groups were facilitated by members of the Heartland Technology Solutions leadership team. That was Arlen's VAR, later the MSP. That worked until groups about 3 and 4, when the leadership team started to decide that that was too much stress. You know, Arlen was looking for the easy, low-cost way to build those groups. We got going. It worked all right until the leadership team said, we can't continue this way. Who's going to be the one that tells Arlen? Being the new kid on the block, that would be me. I was volunteered to do so, and I said, I can handle this. In other words, I drew the short straw. One of the things I've learned in life is sometimes by drawing the short straw, we're collectively fortunate enough to benefit from the long straw. Everybody in this room has benefited from the long straw that is your experience in Evolve or HTG. We benefit from that daily, quarterly, and throughout the years in our business, in our life, in leadership, and in legacy. So Hunter, if you would hit the next slide, please. I'd like to thank Arlen, because with Arlen's help, we all drew the long straw. So if you would, and I would like to carefully point out that even Copilot knows that Arlen has a third hand always ready for a Diet Mountain Dew. So if you would join me in a toast, well, I will give the hip hip, and you raise your glass with your straw and echo back to me, long straw. We'll do 3 of these to celebrate Arlen, Evolve, and the Sorensen family. Ready? Hip, hip. Hip, hip. Hip, hip. And to that, Arlen, I thank you for being the straw that stirs all of our drinks.
Hello all. My name is Brad Kowarchuk. I run a small MSP up in the prairies in Saskatchewan called Braylon Technology Solutions. And I met Arlen Sorensen on a Tuesday in mid-April in 2007 in Wichita, Kansas, when we were checking into an old hotel just ahead of the inaugural meeting of HTG Group 4. But the story started a few months earlier than that. My wife, my business partner, and I were at a ConnectWise Summit in September, I believe, of 2006. We would go to separate breakouts. She comes back. She says, the most interesting thing that day was this peer group thing. I said, what's this peer group thing? Well, I don't know, but this guy Arlen and this guy Larry, they sure sounded good. And then she says some words, very impactful, very true, that I remember this day. She points her finger at me and she says, and this peer group thing sounds exactly like what you need. Turns out it was right. I don't know where we would be with our business. I don't know if our business would have survived. I knew nothing about running a business. But I do know that the business would not have thrived the way that it has if not for being part of this community. Scott alluded to something I'll touch on a little bit further. In September 2007, was when Scott was telling the story about how he had to go to Arlen and share with the management team, was telling Arlen, hey, this hobby is costing our IT company too much. We can't keep going. But Arlen never gave up on that dream. Instead, Arlen formed a new corporation in January of 2008. Scott Scroggin, employee number 1, carried the ball every day to build this community. And here we are, celebrating 25 years together. Isn't that amazing? So, to Arlen, a man with a vision who has changed our world. Thank you, my friend.
All right. So, I've been fortunate to go through facilitator training, thanks to what Arlen and team created. So what facilitator training taught me is that for all of you talking in the back, I can wait for a long time for you to be quiet. Shh. Connie, it works. All right, so 25 years. 25 years is when I started in MSP, and this could be a story of how I spent 25 years with HTG and all the lessons, but it's not, because I was stubborn. And when people came to me and said, you really need to pay attention to this, I said, but I don't want to be like everybody else. And so I didn't. And if I fast forward to now, I'm Peter, I'm the CEO of New Charter Technologies, and New Charter Technologies has brought together over 30 best-in-class IT providers. And I learned that the best IT providers are the ones that are honest, that are dedicated, and that are vulnerable. And I was talking with Chris Luis, who a lot of you know from our team, who's in Arlen's peer group, and he was remarking to me about New Charter. He said, my favorite thing about New Charter is that we've developed a reputation for being authentic and real and doing what we say and caring about people and caring about the businesses. And look at this industry. And we were talking about it, we said there's no better person to credit that to in our entire industry, not just peer groups, but the authenticity that you bring to conversations, to the reality of our businesses, to looking beyond the P&L, but not forgetting about the P&L. this industry wouldn't be what it is. New Charter wouldn't exist. We know that. But this industry might be salesy, it might be schmoozy, it might be ugly if it weren't for people like you, but specifically you. So thank you very much for that. So let's have a great time this week.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. You better get comfortable. They gave me a mic. And I'm going to wait, just like Peter said, till everybody's quiet. So I'm going to sing until you're quiet. I thought that'd stop them pretty quickly. So I actually have notes. So July 9th, 1997. Do you guys remember what you were doing? That was my first day on the job with Arlen Sorensen. Long story, you can hear it sometime if you want. July 10th, he decided it'd be best for me to be a salesperson and not a technician. Connie helped him make that decision. I'd had a trip to do to the emergency room and a couple other things, but it was a great start with Arlen. And along the way, that's been a long time, he's been, and I was talking to this table over here, I'm not gonna cry. So, he's been a great mentor. He's been a leader that I could follow. Obviously, I've been with him for almost 30 years. And he was and I say Arlen, but I mean the whole family. I remember Lori being in middle school, Pete being in high school. They've been all like a second family to me. Through ups and downs, good times and bad. And what he created with the peer groups is something that I continue seeing with that legacy continuing beyond. Yes, he's always going to be the cornerstone, the solid rock. But it's something each and every one of us can continue on with what he created. One afternoon, which he always did, created big ideas and then came to us and said, hey, we're going to do this now instead of that. He was always really good at changing directions. But over all those years, he has been a mentor, like I said, to me. And it's something that I know I hold very dear to myself. And I'm sure each and every one of you have special stories with Arlen at the center of them also. And so yes, it's been 25 years, but that doesn't mean that it ends here. We need to continue on following that legacy he created, that his family created, that evolve HTG, HTS, SCCI, whatever term that you remember, that everything created, we need to continue that on to make sure that we're adding to the legacy of Arlen and the Sorensen family and everything that we're about. Because it doesn't just end. The goal is to continue it on. And so my toast tonight is for the legacy that Arlen and his family created, because it took a lot of dedication, many nights away from his kids and his wife, and a lot of work. But seeing everybody here and knowing that this is all, and he's humble, but it's really all about him tonight, to make sure that we continue this on and help people understand what this is all about. And the go-giver mentality will actually make the channel a much stronger and better place. So my toast is for Arlen and his family for 25 years, but it doesn't end there, to continue it on. I didn't hit your glasses. Pete?
Thanks, Jody.
You'll take the mic?
All right, so anytime they give you an opportunity to put up a picture behind yourself when you're actually standing on the stage, I figure it's kind of an opportunity for an upgrade, right? So a lot of you might know that this man, who never really set off to start a movement, but who did exactly that. So when I was a child, I spent a lot of time at a little table next to my dad's. While he was running a business, I was pretending to run the world. And little did I know what he was creating behind that desk. Dad didn't mean to start HTG peer groups. It was the best business accident he ever had. You know, now that I think about it, HTS and HTG, which were both business accidents, were a lot better than the businesses he started intentionally, like uglyshirts.com. If you wonder about that one, just ask Jody. He's still in counseling over some of the shirts he had to wear to trade shows. Tonight, I really want to thank all of you. I want to thank this incredible community for the ways that you've been a gift to our family. You've shaped our lives in ways that go so far beyond business. You've welcomed us into your homes. You've welcomed us into your family. You've welcomed us time and time again into your groups. You've shown us what it means to lead with heart, to serve with purpose, and to intentionally shape a legacy. To the best business accident ever, and to you all, the people who continue to shape this beautiful community by showing up for each other every single day, to evolve.
Well, g'day, Evolve. And if you can't already tell by the accent, I'm part of this fantastic community, and I promise I'm going to maybe the first to cry, all right? That you built as a global community, and it spread so much further. But look, folks, my story's pretty simple, and it's a common story within Evolve, is that 12 years ago, thanks to this man, and obviously the DNA around him of the Sorensens, I was able to discover my mode, and we didn't even have modes in those days. But he helped me discover my mode, and most importantly, helped me get an opportunity to find a pathway out, and so did my peers, out of my business, which allowed me to connect with these people, my family and my children, which running these businesses are so all-consuming. So for that, I thank you, because that's just one gift that's incredibly powerful that I got to know and spend time with my children. But the funny thing is that after that and leaving these businesses, you want to have a bit of a break, and here I am in the outback of Australia. I sold everything with the business. No one knew where I was. And here I found myself in the outback, or maybe downtown Sydney a few years ago, but here I was in the outback and my phone rings, which nobody has. And this is where I made the assumption that Arlen Sorensen has a divine power. Hey Stu, what are you doing? Not much, Arlen. But I just want to say thank you, because that became an opportunity for me to live my legacy, and for the last 10 years now I've had a chance to take others in Evolve in Australia through their pathway and their journeys and live out my legacy and help them on theirs moving forward. So for that I'm eternally grateful. So thank you so much to all of you. You've been such a big part. All right, enough for me. I'm going to hand you on to the second version of Australia.
Well, that's hard to top. Thanks, Stu. I'm also from Australia, if you don't know. Arlen has this incredible ability to deputise people, and they don't even know they're being deputised. He has created a team of what have ended up being amazing mentors in my business and personal life. And I'm so blessed and honoured to be working amongst the teams to this day now, after finishing my business, after 30 years, after being part of Evolve for part of more than 10 years. It's been absolutely incredible. And working with Laurie recently doing some leadership training, I needed to detail who my Hall of Fame leaders were. And I had my old man there, who I worked alongside for ages, and then next to him I had Arlen. And that's how much he means and his family mean to me. It's been absolutely incredible. Congratulations on everything you've achieved and what's going to continue for a long, long time. Thank you.
What a pleasure. 25 years of Evolve. Do you know that less than 15% of businesses make it 25 years? Incredible. And Evolve for me is really, there's been 3 phases of impact for the Evolve community, including all of you on my life personally. The first one was in early 2011. I was at a CompTIA meeting and fortuitously happened to sit next to Arlen at lunch. And at the time, some of you have heard the story, it's a true story. In June of 2010, I took over an MSP that was doing $2.2 million of revenue and losing $1.5 million. Why did I take it over? That's a story for a whole nother time, okay? But 8 months later, we were doing a little bit better, but still really struggling, and I wasn't sure if the MSP model even worked. I had run other businesses and was convinced by then that the MSP business was one for techie guys to get together, work with their buddies, and maybe break even. That was the best case scenario. I sat next to Arlen at this CompTIA event at lunch, and Arlen, of course, being Arlen, said, tell me about your business. Where are you from? So I told him about my business. He sat there fairly alarmed and turned and said, you need to join a peer group. And I said, what do you mean? And he explained the concept of a peer group. And I came from an industry where we didn't want to be in the same state with others who did the same business, let alone in the same room. And so the concept seemed pretty bizarre, but I decided to jump in and join. And it saved our business. And we went on to grow that business to a business that today is doing over 20 million of revenue, very successful. The year that I left 4 years ago, we were doing 17 million, did multiple acquisitions, we were acquired. And I attribute a huge amount of that to sitting at a lunch and meeting Arlen in 2011. 4 years ago, I switched teams and joined ConnectWise to run service leadership. And so this community, again, was a community of impact for me. And so I'd like to stand here and thank all of you for welcoming me in. I took over for Paul Dipple, was a little bit worried the first time I came to an Evolve meeting. And as a community, you were incredibly gracious and supportive. And Arlen, the entire Sorensen family, incredibly supportive and welcoming. And a year ago, Mandy asked me if I would take over IT Nation, including IT Nation Evolve, and I viewed this as a tremendous responsibility. That this community, the impact that this community makes every day, and it's not just on those who are members, it's on your families, it's on your employees' lives, their families. It's a huge, huge impact footprint. And again, all of you have been incredibly gracious and welcoming. So I would like to toast a couple of things. Number one is we're all judged ultimately by the impact we make on others' lives. And I can't think of too many organizations that have impacted more lives than IT Nation Evolve has over its 25 years. So, and that does not happen without Arlen founding it. It certainly doesn't happen without the support of the Sorensen family. And so, incredible organization. And I'm incredibly blessed to get to go to work every day and work with this team and the entire Evolve team. So I'd like to toast Evolve the next 25 years. I'd like to toast the Evolve members who make this dream happen, and the Evolve employees, the IT Nation employees, who every day show up to make this happen for all of you. So thank you for being here. It's going to be a great week. And let's all toast to Arlen, the Sorensen family, and Evolve the next 25 years.
Uh-oh. All right. For those of you that don't know who I am, I'm Mike Simmons. I have been chasing this man around with a camera for almost 20 years now. I've interviewed a lot of you. I've never been on this side of the equation, so this isn't my comfort zone. But as you can see from the pic, some of you have been around for a while might have heard of Varvid. Way back when, we did all of the video production for not only HTG, but for ConnectWise. I founded that company with another guy who was in the peer groups, Aaron Booker. Interesting thing, the first interview we ever did was with Arlen Sorensen and Arnie Bellini at the same time. Trial by fire. Jump ahead a few years, and Arlen and Pete asked me to come do, along with Mike and Whitney Pierce, shout out to them up in the corner there. They asked me to come do marketing for them, for HTG. Lots of trips to the farm. Felt like I was part of the family. No tractor privileges yet. Still waiting on that. But what was HTG marketing like back in 2015? Well, next slide, please. You've probably, what Arlen was going for was accountability through execution was the phrase, and it still pops up every once in a while. Now, in Arlen's mind, it sounds professional, it's clean, it's simple, it has the vague threat of corporate about it, right? But when you actually say it out loud to somebody who doesn't know what the peer groups are, it looks a little more like this, right? It's like the long lost title to a Metallica album or something. Anyway, tomorrow, I have tons of footage. You wouldn't believe how much footage I've had over 20 years. And tomorrow I put together a video that you guys are going to see that shares what that journey is about. But as part of that effort, Arlen and I sat down this year and had a number of conversations sort of reminiscing about that journey. Not everything ended up in the video, so I thought I'd show you one of the outtakes tonight.
You know, over the years, there's been a lot of memorable moments for sure. Some of the things with dunk tanks and other things, pies in my face, and many things have been thrown at me over the years, actually. And, by people that I wouldn't have expected to stand up and have so much joy doing it. But those things are very memorable to me, for sure.
All right, on that note, let's bring out the cake. All right, Arlen, Nancy and Larry, you could choose who takes the first shot. Arlen, I just want to say thank you for decades of impact in my life personally. Mike and Whitney send their best as well. But also on behalf of everyone here who couldn't be on stage tonight, I want to raise a toast and thank you.
Nicely done. Hello, everybody. Manny Ravello, CEO of ConnectWise. Now, I don't have 10, 20, 30 years working with Arlen, but I do have one whole year. And man, can you pack a lot in a year. I'll tell you, when I joined the company, everybody said, you got to meet Arlen. And you got to understand, ConnectWise is a fairly large company, 3,500 employees, operate in multiple continents. So it takes a while to meet Arlen. But no matter who I met, they said, you got to meet this man. And I felt this is, like you want to meet Michael Jordan, you want to meet God, you want to meet Arlen, right? Is the comments around it. And the first thing he told me is, you got to go to a peer group. And I'm like, okay, this is another conference. This is where I'm going to learn a lot about what's going on. And I was blown away. I've been in this industry for 30 years. I've worked for some of the largest companies on the planet, and I've been around user groups my whole life. I've never been around a group of go-givers like you, Arlen, and your family have created. This man and his family has impacted hundreds of thousands of people, including the businesses that they support. And that, to me, is incredible. And the most amazing part of it all is he gives it all away. All of it. The most humble human being I've ever met. So it saddens me that Arlen is going to be leaving us next year. Although we could try to talk him into it to stay a little longer, because he's been an amazing individual. And now the reason, Arlen, I brought this piece of paper up here is because I wrote a bunch of notes, but I realized I don't need notes to talk about you and what you've done for this community. And then I also, on the back, wrote our minutes from our board meeting last week, so I got to keep the piece of paper. That's why it's still with me. So I'll be honest, in full disclosure. But I want to present this trophy to Arlen for 25 years of incredible work for all of us, so you can put this back in your house. And I want to take a moment to honor and toast Arlen, you, and your family. Without you, this would not be possible. Let's raise a glass to Arlen and his family.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, would you give us just a couple more minutes of quiet? I'm it. I'm the end of the show. All right. So we're almost done, I promise. All right. And I have notes. And I will look. I'm going to tell you this: that a lot of people stand up here and they were about to cry. I'm one of those guys. All right. I'll tell you that right now. I may not get through this because what Arlen built transcends. All right. Look, Evolve is about business transformation. How many of you would say that Evolve has helped you achieve more in your business than you ever thought you would? All right? I think that's become a fairly universal thing that Evolve has a reputation for, right? And that was Arlen's heart, right? To help people be successful. But if there's three things that I think of when I think of Arlen, it's faith, family, and legacy. And back when I first got to know Arlen, Arlen's path to legacy and to help people grow and be successful was, let's help them be successful in their business and then try to get them to think about some of the more important things that are important to him. And it was, look, let's try to build a world-class community that can help people become successful building their business. And he successfully did that. Stuck the landing, I think, right? I think we do a pretty good job. But if you look at the family part, and I look over here, we've talked a lot about Arlen, but I was fortunate enough to be a part of when Arlen's family sort of, I would say, came back together. Pete was in Hawaii, Lori was in China, right? This is the 2011 timeframe. Lori came back and got her footing kind of back in the United States, found her spot on the team. And for those of you who don't know, and I mean a lot of you do because she's like built this path, but the whole planning for success thing and helping organize your thoughts and how to become successful, I mean, that's all coming from Lori. That's Lori's work doing those things. Pete came back from Hawaii, where he worked for DuPont, and I think in a very timely manner, Pete came back and he was a steady hand of Arlen's good, but we gave Arlen what we called mulligans because he was a serial entrepreneur who every day had a new idea that was his new long-term strategy of the day. And Pete came back and was like, he brought a steady hand of, no, we're not going to do all those things. And he brought an enterprise layer of thinking that was much needed to running the organization, right? And Pete's been doing that ever since in a way that, gosh, I don't know many people that are as talented as Pete is at doing those things. Just like Lori in her gifting, they've found a way to I don't know, enhance this community. And for those of you who don't know, the backbone of the whole thing that allowed this thing to happen is Nancy. Yes. Right? It is Nancy's support. It is Nancy's
keeping Arlen in line. It is Nancy helping Arlen to understand when he needs to say no, sort of. The one area, Arlen's made a whole bunch of really good decisions. I mean, including when it came time for us to contemplate and ultimately kind of become a part of the ConnectWise family, Arlen looked at that as the best way for me to magnify what I've already built into something much bigger than we could do without that ConnectWise partnership, which is why we came there. But when I look at Arlen's original vision for what this was, you can draw a line from Arlen's heart through Nancy and Lori and Pete to the evolved leadership that's here today, out all the way to you, right? How many people in here, just raise your hand, how many people in here are facilitators or have given a subject matter expert talk or have been on an advisory council? Just raise your hand. Like all of these people, Arlen has transferred his vision through this team out to you, and now you get the privilege, I would say, of taking what Arlen has built for 25 years and now continuing it. And if you looked at what a legacy plan would look like, it would be that things would continue in much the same manner and even more than when you were running it. And for all of those things, it's like, Arlen, you stuck the landing. Your family is a super important part of this. We are all blessed by you. We are blessed by your family. We are blessed by the leadership team that you have built. We are blessed by how you have poured selflessly through all of that to all of these people. So look, I think the family metaphor is overused in business, but I think for tonight, I'm on board with it, right? I'm on board with it. It is, Arlen, your vision, your heart, your family. You can see your family and your heart and your vision driven all the way through like an arrow, all the way out to these people. This thing is going to be thriving and successful well into the future. Arlen, because of your faithfulness and because of your dedication and your work and your family and like all of the things that I think most of us would aspire to do. So I'm going to grab my glass. This is our last toast. All right, so would you join me in celebrating the evolved family and that line that goes all the way back to Arlen's heart that started this thing 25 years ago. Cheers. All right, so tonight we are all family, and that's it. We're all done. You can go, now you can have your conversations.